thought when I went to seminary I would get all the answers. I thought that, because I listened to David Jeremiah and Tony Evans and John MacArthur, and these guys seem to have all the answers. And now I'm wise enough to know that they're basically stealing all the information off of each other. I listen to John MacArthur and I read David Jeremiah, and it's like, man, somebody's plagiarizing somebody. And so, it's okay to speculate, but you don't have. I wouldn't go to battle on who I thought the 24 elders were. But what I do know is that they're there on the throne of God and they are worshiping. They don't know this new song in chapter 14. Brother Dave.
So the 144,000 is not on earth, they're in heaven.
No, the 144,000 are actually physically there going through the tribulation.
It says they're before the throne and the creatures and the elders. Those we have read before. Right. I don't know if this is just an image of them, of John looking into heaven, but I don't think they're in heaven at this point. Let's read on and see if we can get more clarity on it. Verse 3. Again, it says, and they sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures. In fact, I read something on that today, and maybe I could find it. And before the four living creatures and the elders, and no one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been purchased from the earth. These are the ones who have not been defiled with women. This is on the earth. And for they have kept themselves chaste. They are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These have been purchased from among men as first fruits to God and to the Lamb, and no lie was found in their mouth. They are blameless. And so I think what we see is more of an image of the faithfulness of this 144. I do not believe they're in heaven at this time. This is midway through the tribulation period. We haven't even addressed the bowls yet. And so we talked about the trumpets, and we talked about the what else did we talked about the trumpets and the seals. Yeah, the trumpets and the seals. We haven't even gotten to the bowls yet. So we're still in the tribulation. They're not in heaven. Blonda, you mentioned something also. It says in verse 4, these are the ones who have not been defiled with women, which basically makes you think that they are what? Men, you said Catholic. Men. But then it goes on to say, for they have kept themselves chaste, and they are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. I think. Does anyone have the King James version?
I do.
Read that verse 4 in the King James.
These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins.
Right. So the virgins make you think that they are what? Women.
No. Virgin men. And this reference is Matthew.
You said they reference what?
Matthew chapter 19.
Read Matthew 19.
Matthew 19, my reference says Matthew 19:12, and it says, for these are eunuchs who were born that way from their mother's womb, and there are eunuchs who were made eunuchs by men, and there are also eunuchs who made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven, and he who was able to accept this will accept it. I mean, these sound like men who just decided.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is why I wanted to bring that up. I don't think it's even addressing that at all. I believe it's highlighting the fact that these people have been set aside, they have been made holy, and they have kept themselves holy unto God. This is not really talking about the physical, it's more of the spiritual that I believe they're addressing, not the physical. Yes, ma'am.
Couple questions. Why, I mean, since it's clear it says that, why would you think that? But another thing is this Revelation chronological. Could this be, it could be 144,000 just out of, it's not, this isn't chronological, Revelation. Or is it?
You mean is it written? Is the book of written? Is it written in the chronological order where everything is happening? Yes and no. Like I think chapters 12 and 13 and 14 there's a gap. We went from catastrophe, and now in chapter 13 we looked at Satan, and in this chapter we're looking at Christ as a lamb. So chapter 12 and 13 and 14, that's kind of a bracket, and so I think there's some things in these chapters that are not chronological in nature. Like, for instance, I think that this is more of a look into the rewards after the tribulation period is over. And so if that makes sense. So I would say no. For the most part, I don't think it's chronological.
That's what I'm saying. It could be I guess I was thinking about that TV show, This Is Us. They go sideways, not chronological.
Yeah. I don't know. I've not seen that movie, but so somebody else had Sister Cheris and then Sister Betty.
Well, just a thought. You said that the 24 elders could be a representation of the church.
Yes.
And if they are, then that says they're the first fruits. Well, the church is the bride of Christ. And if they're the first fruits, they would be virgin, right?
Spiritually, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Could be.
I thought it said in Greek that it actually means virgins who are not defiled themselves.
Yeah, but I don't think they're focusing as much on the physical as they are the spiritual. Sister Betty and then Sister May.
I'm going to read this verse 4.
Okay.
It says, virgins is not a physical description of a spiritual one, just as the church must be presented to Jesus as a chaste person. And they give a lot of different verses. The matter of vows must be pure in their ministry. One of the gross sins of the tribulation will be apostasy, spiritual adultery. And they give some references too. But these will be undefiled by the world, having given themselves to worship the Lord.
That's what I believe.
But there's a lot of different verses that they have in this.
Right, Sister May.
That was the question I was going to ask. I was just going to ask, could that mean that they were the ones that stayed free from all of the world paganism?
Right.
That's the question.
Yeah, I think the context have probably, I agree with what Sister Betty read, because I think the context of those taking the mark of the beast, now he identifies this lamb and those who have been sealed on their foreheads. And so these have been set aside, apart spiritually and they have not defiled themselves. They have not taken the mark of the beast. They have not bowed down to this image, and I think that's more probable. Now again, I wouldn't go to battle on it, but I think that's just more, that fits more in line with the context than any of the other issues. Sister Blonda.
And the verse leads me to believe this, or people say, this 144,000 are all men.
You said the verse leads you to believe that they're all men. Usually when they look at lineage and the tribes of Israel, they wouldn't have a woman leading a tribe. But again, I don't think it's physical as much as it is a spiritual representation, because they're women who are in the kingdom that are part of Israel. Does that make sense? So I think it's more of a spiritual representation than a physical.
So why make mention that they did not defile women? What is the significance?
Well, I think, and a lot of this adultery, like if you think about Corinth, for instance, and a lot of their worship, there was sex, a lot of sex, slavery and sex worship and all of that stuff. The temple prostitutes, that was norm in a lot of worship services. So I would say that the reason why that's brought up is these 144,000 didn't go out like that. Good questions. Very good questions. Any others? Good. It goes on to say, these are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. That's a devotion to Christ. These 144, when there is a full-out devotion to Satan, the false prophet, and the Antichrist, there are those who are totally devoted to Christ, fully devoted followers of Christ. Does that make sense? And so, and it says, they follow the Lamb wherever he goes. John chapter 10 reminds us that Jesus says that he says, my sheep do what? They hear my voice. In a world of great deception, where everybody's talking, particularly in this time, the tribulation period, when the false prophet, who's empowered by Satan himself, will come at a time where he will basically be the answer to everything. It's important for the people of God to know the voice of God. That's in the tribulation. Let's move back to 2018. Is it important for us to know the voice of God? Absolutely. Now more than ever. This is crunch time. I hope you know that. Because the Bible talks about a lot of things happening, and those things point toward the end. And so I am, without a doubt, I believe we're in the end. We're in the end times. We're close to Christ's return. Brother Dave, you got a question? I think you had your hand up.
Will be 144,000. Is that all that's left of Israel?
No. Like I said, I believe it's a representation
of Israel as a whole. During this tribulation period, however, there will be Jews that will be saved, who will be evangelized by the 144,000. I believe there'll be Gentiles that will be saved also. So I do not believe this 144 is the entirety of Israel as a whole.
So the 144,000 came to Christ after the rapture?
No. The 144,000 were actually chosen to go into the rapture. I'm saying the 144,000 were, I believe, they were not converts. We'd have to go back to chapter 7. Let's just go flip back real quick.